Hey folks, welcome back to LeafGreen versus Blue. We're here in the Indigo Plateau, walking up to Lance, the final member of the Elite Four. The Dragon Master, in a generation that only had one line of Dragon-type Pokemon. So we kind of had to borrow. But he's still tough. He's a pretty tough challenge, so I'm not gonna give him too hard of a time. He leads off with a classic lead, Gyarados, and in Gen 3, of course, it has Intimidate, which means whatever you send in first is going to have its attack cut down. But like I was saying against Blue/Green a couple episodes back, we kind of know how to deal with Gyarados at this point. We use electricity, and that's about it. Lance's whole thing, you know, if Agatha is really confusion-themed, Lance is Hyper Beam-themed. I think almost every Pokemon he has Hyper Beam. Maybe not in both versions, but in one version or the other. And Hyper Beam, very, very strong move. Physical move in both Gen 3 and Gen 1, so Gyarados can make good use of it. Gyarados over here also has Hyper Beam, and I would say it's more dangerous in Gen 1, because if you beat somebody with Hyper Beam in Gen 1, you don't have to recharge. So if he gets Hyper Beam off on you, he'll be able to Hyper Beam the next Pokemon very, very easily. Next up, Aerodactyl. It's nothing to write home about. It's fast, it's decently strong, it's part Rock type. So you can use that to your advantage. You can use water if you like. But I'd say the one kind of curveball for Gen 3 is that it has Ancient Power, which has a chance of raising all of its stats one stage. It's unlikely, but it can happen, and it can ruin your day. Here in Gen 1, it's Supersonic, Bite, Takedown, and Hyper Beam. So Hyper Beam's the thing to look out for. Or just KO it, it's not that durable. Next up is one of his Dragonair. He has two Dragonair. They are slightly different in Gen 3. Each one is slightly different. This one has Thunder Wave, which is a 100% accuracy move that paralyzes you. Rather annoying. And then offensive-wise, it has Outrage and Hyper Beam. So, Outrage being a quite good Dragon-type move, essentially a Dragon-type Thrash that deals a lot of damage but locks the user in and confuses them after 2 to 3 turns. Another strategy that it has is Safeguard, which you saw it use there. Safeguard is a move that prevents status ailments, at least from moves, I guess. Poison Point managed to get through there. But as a backup for Safeguard, it has the ability Shed Skin, which it just utilized there, which every turn has a chance of shedding off whatever status ailment it is afflicted with at the time. So even if you manage to get a status ailment in past the Safeguard, it could get rid of it anyway. So that's really annoying. Anyway, there's Outrage for you. It confuses after several turns, as I said, so if you're in an annoying situation like this, and somehow you just can't attack, you know, maybe you're fully paralyzed or something, that confusion could get some damage in for you while you're struggling to deal with an inability to move. In Gen 1, does not have the Thunder Wave, Outrage doesn't exist, so Hyper Beam is going to be its main mode of attack in addition to Dragon Rage. Dragon Rage being a set damage move that probably doesn't do very much at this point. And here's the other Dragonair. this Dragonair, rather than having Thunder Wave, has Dragon Rage, which does 40 HP. That's it, that's all. It's, at this point, not worth worrying about. Okay, is the poison gonna work this time? So in the last Dragonair, it shed off the poison that would have KO'd it. Is it gonna work here? Yeah, it is. Cool. And then in Gen 1, the Dragonair is actually completely identical to the last one. Same moves, same everything. So, whatever you did last time, it'll work here. Finally, he has in fact saved his best for last. It is a Dragonite. Now, I don't have a ton to say about this Dragonite, which is unfortunate because it actually does take a fair amount of time for me to beat because it's pretty strong. It doesn't do anything particularly crafty or devious. It's just strong. I'll remind you that even though it's kind of adorable and doofy looking, it's got 134 base attack. It is strong. It is offensively capable. So an Outrage or a Hyper Beam coming from this thing is going to do a lot of damage. And that's kind of all I got to say. It's got Safeguard like the other Dragonair rather. So if you want to poison it or put it to sleep or paralyze it, you have to be crafty. Time it well or use Poison Point, I guess. But other than that, it's strong. It's strong. It can take hits pretty well, and it can dish them out even better. I haven't really explicitly said it, but your best bet against the dragon types that Lance has is going to be ice moves, and probably ice-type Pokemon, because, you know, dragon is super effective against dragon, so you could bring a dragon, but dragon is super effective against dragon, so you'd be weak against his dragons. And fairy-type doesn't exist and will not exist for another 10 years, so did you know fairy-type didn't exist when I recorded this footage? How's that for mind blown? Yeah, ice is the way to go. Ice will be super effective against Dragonair and quadruple effective against Dragonite because it's dragon flying. I guess I was just keeping Drew in there to see if he could do it, because really, Kingsley's gonna have a much better time, and clearly he has. So yeah, that's game over. There's a dragon move. Yay. But yeah, I would say that Dragonite is actually pretty tough if you don't have something specifically to deal with it. In Gen 1, it doesn't have Outrage. Its main offensive move is going to be Hyper Beam, and all the standard Hyper Beam rules apply, but that didn't really happen because I one-shot it. And yeah, that takes care of Lance. That is the fourth and final member of the Kanto Elite Four. And in the next episode, the final episode of LeafGreen versus Blue, we will take on our rival one last time. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.